All right, moving on. So we've been talking throughout this podcast about the fact that I just got a Switch. Jim and I both got Smash for it, and just wanted to generally talk about thoughts. This game was one of the driving factors in me really wanting a Switch when it was announced, middle of the year.
Right.
And yeah, I'm not disappointed. What I will say, what I am disappointed in, is something Jim and I talked about. The Switch itself, the controller, and
using the Joy-Cons with it.
Yeah, and I know that you can plug in the GameCube controller. I'm not going to do that.
You're not going to buy the dongle for it?
No. I'm getting more used to it, but yeah, inherently the Switch, that controller it's a little too, it's like too small, and it's silly to say. It's clearly made for kids. Like, an adult's hands, I feel like, are just too big for that. No matter whether you have it on the Joy-Cons on the actual controller, like whatever palette, if you want to call it,
right,
or on the Switch itself. But yeah, no, the game is, damn. Other than people who might have an issue with the actual gameplay, it's the best Switch game. It has every character from every Switch. The soundtrack is fucking amazing. The fact that you can pick your own soundtrack is awesome. The just sheer amount of things you can do, it's undeniable to me that it's not the best game.
There's so much goddamn content in it.
There's so much, and you know what did piss me off? I didn't realize this, and I know we talked about it. So I can't play you unless you're here locally. I can't play you online unless I buy that online service.
Oh, yeah, you need to buy Switch Online.
So that sucks.
What we talked about before.
Yeah. So, yeah, that sucks.
It's very cheap, though.
It is, but it sucks.
Yeah, I know. But it's like anything with these days with online multiplayer. Like we talked about before. We talked about this a couple podcasts ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was free for like a year and a half, and then they're like, oh, we're charging you now, so.
Well, and still, as I said when we talked about that, when I didn't have a Switch, my number one problem with that, even if it's cheap, it is obviously cheaper. You gotta, if you're gonna charge me for that shit, you gotta include some kind of ability to talk to you. You gotta include some shit with, like, come on, man, not just like you can play Tecmo Bowl now, like, no.
With dedicated servers.
Yeah, like, come on, you gotta up your game a little bit more, guys. One thing, and I mean, you'd pretty much agree. You love the game, right?
Oh yeah.
So one thing I was reading, so I was trying to figure out, like, how do I do certain things? I haven't played Smash in so long.
Right.
I didn't know if it was a normal thing to have so few characters when you first open a game, because you get, 8 right off the bat?
This is probably the least amount of characters you get since the original.
So
off the bat.
There is a...
Like, they really make you work for that roster.
So basically, it's a timed thing, from what I understand, between every time a new challenger approaches. It's not about if you win a battle. It's just how much time you're actually playing. And after, usually for me, if I'm doing each match is like 2 or 3 minutes, and I'd say every 2 or 3 matches, I get a new challenger. You play them. If you lose, then you get the option to replay them again if you go into the vault. I go online just to see, like, okay, how many people are there? What's the order you get the challengers? Because there is an order. You can also get to the certain people faster if you go through the adventure mode, I think it's called.
Yeah, it's like the Spirit Adventure or something.
Well, there's a Light World.
The Light World, yeah.
That's the Light World. But there's a classic adventure you can go through.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So... I've just been playing this. I did a little bit of Light World. I didn't care so much about the order.
That actually, Light World gets hard fast.
Yeah.
Like, I'm surprised. Like, I put a good amount of hours into it.
Yeah.
And then I just hit this one wall, and I'm just like, holy shit! I'm doing the individual Spirit events right now just to grind out my Spirit characters and make it better for that.
But I had a big issue, and I wanted to see your thoughts on this. Everyone has this real easy glitch that allows you to unlock people faster. So essentially, like, you set the timer really low, you play, and then, like, if you win or lose, you hit home, and then it resets the timer, so, like, it tricks the game, and they keep giving you new challengers faster.
I'm not doing that.
That's some cheap shit. Like, come on, guys. The whole fucking point of the game is to play it. And I'm sorry you didn't get your ice climbers first.
I think there are people bitching that you have to go through and unlock all the characters.
What the fuck? Like, that's the point of the game. These are probably the people that bitch about it, or the same people that bitch that there's things out there that are pay to win, or like, you just unlock everything if you pay for it. Like, dude, the point of this game is to play it. And yes, I'm playing. I also think it's fucking dirt cheap if you go through and keep playing as the same character only to just make sure you win every time a challenger comes instead of like trying to challenge yourself. Mm-hmm. I'm playing as people I don't give a shit about. I'm never going to play as again. I suck as Ness. Jim was one of those annoying kids who would play as him.
I learned how to master him back in the N64 days.
I hate him, but I still try to play as him. Like, that's the fucking point of the game. So if you're out there, there's no excuse. I don't care if you don't have your favorite character, if you don't have your Meta Knight or whoever. Just play the fucking game.
I think this is a, what do you call it? Like, it's a love letter to Smash fans, too, because it has everything from all the games.
Everything. And I'm sure there's hardcore Smash fans.
I don't need 17 Fire Emblem characters, like, personally, but...
I haven't had an issue with the characters, although the only thing I would say is a little cheap is that there are characters, I forget what they call them in this one. Is it like shadow characters that are the same? There's palette swaps.
Oh, yeah, like Dark Pit and shit like that.
So there's Simon and Richter, and I thought they were different, but they're not. And you unlock them very far in between each other. So I was kind of like, well, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, I mean, Smash has always kind of had that, especially now since the friggin' roster is so big. Like,
well, all I'm saying is for the
like even back in Melee, like Ganondorf and someone else were kind of almost exactly the same.
But what I'm saying is, like, if you're gonna have it like that, I'm cool, but don't make me unlock them different. Like, just unlock Simon and Richter at the same time then, if they're the same.
Yeah.
Like, or just do strictly a palette swap, or like make it a costume. Either way, I can't say enough fun about the game. I actually haven't played any online because I haven't bought the online. So me and Jim will probably play when we're next to each other. But yeah, I am loving playing as some of the new characters. I suck as Ridley right now.
Haven't gotten her yet.
And I love playing as Simon, but I love Castlevania, so I force myself. It takes a lot of getting used to because he sucks up close. Like, his whip, like, you basically have to be at a distance. But no, I really like it so far.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a lot of fun. I've always liked Smash. Outside of 3DS one, I own all of them. But
yeah,
and like I even really loved Brawl, and that's the one people hate the most. So,
but isn't that more because of like?
It's because of the random tripping.
That, and then I thought also because there was a lot more. They had the bigger issues with like the Meta Knight and some of the characters being overpowered. More than they did in Melee.
There was a little balancing with some of the characters, and in general is geared more towards casual in general. So the hardcores were pissed off with it because of the tripping and just the overall game mechanics. Like, oh, nothing can touch Melee. So this is actually the first one that I think people are really saying is a contender outside of just straight up Melee.
Yeah, and I decided...
And my problem with like the 3DS Wii U generation was the single player was like nothing really. Like there was no like Brawl had such a cool adventure mode that there's a lot of padding in it, but you put a lot of time to that shit.
Yeah.
And all the single player options that like Melee had, like sure, adventure in that you could get through it in 20 minutes, but you just had so many mini games and shit like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the Wii U one felt like such a backstep for that it's cool to see in this one there's just such an emphasis on single player too.
Yeah. So if you're out there and for some reason you don't like it, I would love to hear why.
I will say it took me a while to get used to the Joy-Cons too. The Switch itself, I've played this and Breath of the Wild, and in both cases, that controller's rough. And the problem too is that Nintendo has a boner about like every console these days. Like they all have the diamond-shaped buttons, and it's always the bottom button was like your primary one. Except for goddamn Nintendo, it's got to be the one on the right because it's the A button. It's been that since fucking 1983. It's like, and just make it the.
And I know you can adjust it because that was my number one issue with Smash. I started playing. I'm like,
make the damn bottom button.
Yeah, I had an issue with that, but it's Nintendo, so I don't expect better. And yeah, the buttons are just too tight. Like, make it a little wider.
Yeah, like even the Wii U's buttons were bigger. So, like, it wasn't as fun of a game, but it was easier to control.
That console sucked. But, yeah.
Yeah, that was coming.
So, let us know what you guys think below. Like you said, I'm really even more curious of anyone who doesn't like the game and give reasons why.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear that.
Yeah.